Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim and Assalamu Alaikum. Welcome to another installment of the weekly program Double Standards, which I normally present on every Monday, 6 to 7 p.m. I was away for 4 to 5 weeks. I was traveling abroad, so I could not do this program during the last 4 or 5 weeks. Now I'm back and I've just resumed this program. I was traveling to Pakistan, to Iran, to Qatar, and other few countries in the Middle Eastern region, and just try to obtain the latest information there. And I got access to some classified documents on the Saudi ambitions, unbridled ambitions in the Middle East, military ambitions. So I will discuss that at later side of the program. So today's program, which I normally do with Alan Hart is not well. He's persistently he's unwell. So I'll be doing this program myself on my own. This program will carry on for an hour. The first half of the program, I'll discuss the issue of the day, and then I'll take a short break. And when I come back after the break, the telephone lines would be open for all the listeners and viewers, and they're welcome to call and ask any question pertaining to today's topic, or they can share their own views on today's topic. So today's topic is the Saudi ambitions in Levant. When we say Levant, this is the region which comprises 5 to 6 major countries, and this term is about 1400 years old. And even at that time, this huge region comprised many Arab states of the time. And I'll discuss that also at the later part of the program. Now, I have got an interesting news item on which many television commentators they have commented on, and but I'll discuss this news item from a different perspective, from the true perspective of the oppressed nations living in the region, and their protest, their agitation against the oppressors. Unfortunately, they are also the Muslim countries. So the topic is the Saudi ambitions in Levant. Saudi ambitions, that means in Yemen, Saudi ambitions in Iraq, Saudi ambitions in Syria, Saudi ambitions in Lebanon, Saudi ambitions within Saudi Arabia, and in the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, the 6 countries including Saudi Arabia. Viewers, you may have noted that last week the Saudi regime, when I say regime, the two people who are very important, one is the Foreign Minister Adil Al-Jubair, the other guy is the son of the ruling King Salman, Mohammed bin Salman, who is the defense minister as well as the deputy crown prince. Whenever they give a policy statement, they give it together. They pick up different venues, different sessions, different places, but they say almost the same things as part of the new policy formulation, new policy announcements. So Adil bin Jubair and Mohammed bin Salman, last week they revealed that Saudi Arabian regime is prepared and is prepared to send the ground forces to Syria. Now, this was an news item, and when that reached the ears of the Syrian foreign minister, who is a Sunni Muslim, Walid Muallim, he said, all right, the Saudi forces are welcome to Syria, but they may be coming on their tanks, main battle tanks, on armored vehicles, mechanized infantry troops. They might come there to Syria. They will come on tanks, but when they go back, they might go in coffins. Big statement. Now, this week, the similar statement was issued by the UAE, another member of the Gulf Cooperation Council under the Saudi political influence. The Emirati Emir said that now the UAE troops are available to be mobilized into the Syrian territories. And I haven't heard a reaction from Walid Muallim, but maybe as playing as a devil's advocate, he might say, all right, the UAE troops are also welcome. What all we have to do is we have to make larger coffins, so maybe 2 in 1. So that could be the response. Now, when this news item is worth analyzing, is worth examining from the political point of view, from ideological point of view, from economic point of view, because pursuit of glory is an expensive business. If you have to mobilize a large number of troops, maybe in excess of 100,000 troops, you require more than $10 billion to mobilize that very large troops into a foreign country, let alone securing an international mandate by the UN Security Council, which is, of course, not a possibility for Saudi Arabia. So Saudis and the UAE rulers, they may not have the support from the UN Security Council to fulfill that ambition. So discussing that, now I discussed these two statements, one from the UAE Emir and then from the Saudi rulers. I analyzed that in the context of two areas. One is the role of Egypt and Turkey in this whole political mess of Middle Eastern region. And number two, about 6-8 weeks ago, the Saudis, they revealed their futuristic military plan to set up and raise a strong army of 250,000 rapid response force, and calling it the 34-nation military alliance for the Middle Eastern region. Perhaps they are envisioning a gap which they may perceive that a gap could be created if the United States and other allied NATO allies they pull out their troops from the region, the Navy from the Arabian Sea, from the Persian Gulf, and from the Red Sea, because momentous developments are occurring in the geostrategic environment of the region. So the Saudis are perhaps anticipating that Americans at some stage will say, all right, we are pulling out our Fifth Fleet and we are relocating it, or we are reducing considerably the number of that, because Iran is becoming a reality, geostrategic power, geopolitical power, maritime power, and a responsible international player and the international diplomatic system of the region. So Saudis think that perhaps some gap is going to be created, and they are there to fill in the gap. So indigenous force of 34 Muslim nations so might replace, as their dream is, the Saudi dream is, the other GCC countries, they have the dream that might be that's a replacement of the NATO presence in the region, or the Fifth Fleet presence in the region. So that is the. So now, when they say they approached Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt to provide the lion's share, the major contribution towards raising 250,000 strong rapid response force troops. So Pakistan, very prudently, Pakistan with the huge strategic in-depth in their military annals and their military arrangement, in their military formation, command and control structure. As part of their doctrine, Pakistan said that Pakistan would not be able to contribute towards that ambitious military design of Saudi Arabia and the camp followers of Saudi Arabia. But that is a principled stand, and the Pakistan's military leadership is justified. That's a very legitimate decision they have made. Although the political ruling elite, the so-called shambolic, diabolical political leadership in Pakistan, like Nawaz Sharif and Shahbaz Sharif and the likes, they would be more than happy to send the troops to Saudi Arabia, because Saudis, they saved their necks from the gallows to Sharif brothers, and they have so many kind gestures extended to the Pakistani PMLN leadership. So this is a paytime, and Nawaz Sharif, Shahbaz Sharif, they were desperate to send troops, but military leadership in Pakistan, their good sense prevailed, common sense prevailed, and they said no, they are not being the part of that military alliance. But having said that, apart from Pakistan, the other two military powerhouses are Egypt, with over 500,000 troops, strong troops, and Turkey, another 700,000 strong troops. But look at the history. History is very, very brutal. History is not a bucket of ashes. History gives you solid empirical evidence of anything that has occurred in our past or near past. So Turkey, in the entire history of 400 years, they ruled as Ottomans from the 13th, early 14th century down to 1921-22, when they said goodbye to their regime. So during these long years, during these 400 years, Turkey never won a war in 400 years of history. And Egypt never won a war. So military prowess of these two countries will be available to Saudi Arabia, but how they are going to win a war if Saudi Arabia launches a major military offensive in any part of the Middle Eastern region? So that's a big question. The other question is, in order to find its answers, the other third party is Egypt, Turkey. Obviously Saudi Arabia will be relying upon their military contribution. But there's a third dimension. There's axis, y-axis, and there are z-axis. So z-axis is Israel. So where does Israel fit into this all? So the military mobilization in Syria, and Yemen they have done already. Yemen, they are using their air attacks, and they have the designs, they have their plans to invade Yemen at some stage, but there are opposite groups in the Saudi military decision makers. They say it would be suicidal to mobilize troops, ground troops in Yemen. So, but the Saudis, they are moving towards the north. The north is the Levant. The north is Syria, and top to Syria is then Lebanon also. So where does Israel fit into it? Of course, Israel does fit into it very fitfully, and that is Israel's own catalog of defeats some 6-7 years ago, when the Hezbollah gave very tough time to the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. So the Israelis also, they have to revenge, they have to retaliate whatever they lost, and the thing is something more grandiloquent, which the Israelis have been considering their military preparedness, was their Iron Dome, the mobile launched anti-rocket or anti-missile system, which the Israelis have been talking very high about, the state of the art. Not a single missile, even ballistic missile, can hit the Israeli mainland. So that dream was shattered when the basic technology, the Scud missiles and other basic missiles, they penetrated the Iron Dome and hit the Israeli heartland, and the Israelis, they were completely appalled by that. Now Israelis, they have to level the scores with Lebanon. So on that, so there is a coincidence, the policy, the strategy, the military strategy of Saudi Arabia and the military strategy of Israel, that is coinciding at this stage, and their common enemy is Syria. Their common enemy is Lebanon. Their common enemy is Hezbollah, being more precise, and common enemy is Iran. So Iran, a peaceful country which has never taken pride into invading any other country, or let alone any border skirmishes. But having said that, the Iranian military preparedness, geostrategic understanding is very, very deep, and they make their military decisions very prudently and keeping in mind the ground realities. So the Iranians, they know the art of defending themselves. So whether Israel or Saudi Arabia or UAE or the combined forces or even the 34-nation military bloc headed by the Wahhabi, Salafi, Takfiri leadership of Saudi Arabia, they won't be able to threaten or menace the Iranian legitimate military doctrine or their posture in the region. And that posture and doctrine is based on non-aggression, non-violence, and peace. So this is all. Let me go back to the historical perspective of this news item, that why the Saudis, they are moving towards Levant. And so 1400 years of old events that occurred in the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam. When Imam Ali alayhi salam, he relocated his capital, the Muslim state capital, from Medina to Kufa, and he had some logic. He had very big rationale towards that relocation, that Imam Ali alayhi salam knew the geostrategic significance of Levant. Because number one, Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan was busy in launching intrigues against Islam. Firstly, his father Abu Sufyan was planning all that against Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then later Muawiyah against Imam Ali alayhi salam. So Muawiyah had set up a parallel, independent, threatening state, threatening to Islam in the Levant region, and headquartered at Damascus. That's the history. History is very brutal. So he was busy in launching that intrigue to destabilize the Muslim state, which was created by Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was consolidated by Imam Ali alayhi salam during his 4.5 years of rule, from 656 to 660 AD. So Imam Ali faced the conspiracy, the intrigues from Muawiyah, and Muawiyah in some areas he tried to buy the Muslim strategists, Muslim leaders, Muslim rulers who were purchasable commodities at that time, and they joined Muawiyah. So Muawiyah, what were the reasons behind Muawiyah's controlling Levant, which the Saudi king Salman and his camp followers are ambitious to control that region again? So Muawiyah had 5 major geostrategic points in his mind. Number one, the location of Levant. If you look at the map of Levant, on the north it's Black Sea, on the northeast it's the Caspian through Georgia and Armenia, and then in the east it's the Persian Gulf, in the southeast, and in the south is the Red Sea and Arabian Sea. In the west there is a Mediterranean, long shore of Mediterranean. So this is the important strategic location of Levant. So Syria, predominantly Syria even today. So this was the main thing. And now more than 25% of the world trade in the later half of the 7th century AD was concentrated around this area, which we call today Levant, which used to call in the historical Orioles Levant 1400 years ago. So 25% of world trade was being carried out through the Red Sea, through the Persian Gulf, and to the northeast to the Caspian, and to Black Sea, and then to the west in the Mediterranean. So this was a hub. It was the cultural hub. It was the hub for the civilization, and this was also the hub for the economic activity of that time, especially the international trade. So Muawiyah had that in mind, that if he controlled Levant, if he controlled these regions, then he would, and him and his progeny and his camp followers, they will control the entire region of that, and hence controlling the Mecca and Medina and the entire region to the Arabian Sea. So that was the design, and same is the design, and same is the strategic mindset which King Salman is carrying as a protege, as the hereditary, I must say, ruler to Muawiyah's empire, which Muawiyah set up at that time. So King Salman is also thinking on the same line. So whatever Muawiyah created a template to rule the oppressed masses, the Muslim masses, and even the Christians and Jews of that time, the peaceful Christians, the peaceful Jews of that time. Muawiyah persecuted the Armenian Christians, the Orthodox Christians in the Mediterranean, the people from Cyprus, people from Crete, people from Greece, all the Christian communities living there. They they could not survive the Occam razor of Muawiyah. So all these things are in the historical perspective. When King Salman today says, when Adil al-Jubair says, when Muhammad bin Salman he says, when Maktoum Khalifa says that they are ready to mobilize the ground forces to Syria, to control Syria, and to defeat Bashar al-Assad, who is really withstanding all the military pressure of these countries, and then obviously go to Lebanon and get rid of Hezbollah. So that is the design which coincides directly with the strategic policy, strategic designs of Benjamin Netanyahu. So today it will go without saying, there won't be an iota of exaggeration if we say today that these 5-6 countries and the heads of states, they are the geostrategic partners. So today's geostrategic partners are King Salman of Saudi Arabia, the Maktoum of UAE, and the Khalifa of Bahrain, and the King of Kuwait, and Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, Tayyip Erdogan of Egypt, and Abdel Fattah Sisi. So these 7 countries and their rulers, they are building this bloc. They are providing the doctrine and raison d'etre to these 34 nations, and to mobilize any troops they want to Syria, and then at some stage to Yemen. So this is their dream. So Israel very much part of. I'm waiting for that time that maybe when Israel joins the Gulf Cooperation Council, a big point, and maybe at some stage Egypt as part of the Arab League, but Egypt might join, and Tayyip Erdogan's Turkey has been desperately in search of making an inroad into the EU. For the last 7 years, Tayyip Erdogan, initially as the prime minister and then now as the president, he is desperate to be part of the EU, European Union. Now, ironically, we in Britain, we are talking about the Brexit, the British exit from the European Union. Maybe he is thinking that if Britain gets out of the European Union, then Tayyip Erdogan's Turkey might make a replacement case for joining the EU. So Tayyip Erdogan, Abdel Fattah Sisi. Now Abdel Fattah Sisi has got a unique pedigree. His mother Malaika is from the Zionist extract. She is from the Jewish background. So he's carrying a blood, and the blood is more stronger in the Jewish community that comes from the mother side, not from the father side. So we are discussing that, and we will discuss into details that how and what the Saudis will achieve to mobilize their forces into Syria, if at all they dare do that, if they have that audacity, and the UAE, and then Bahrain and Kuwait, they might join them, because Qatar at the moment and Oman at the moment, they are drawing a very brief, a very thin blue line as a little bit of ideological differences with Saudi Arabia. The reason is Oman and Qatar are the typical Hanafi regimes, and they have started thinking differently. Not 100%, they are not subscribing 100% to the Saudi Wahhabi, Salafi, Takfiri ideology. So they have started thinking independently, Qatar and Oman. So maybe in 5 to 7 years time, they say, okay, we are not part of, we are the economic part of, we are the political part of the GCC, but militarily we have to find our own strategy that suits our greater national interest. With this, I take a short break. When I come back after the break, the telephone lines would be open for the viewers and listeners. You're welcome to make any telephone call to share your views on today's topic, or to ask any question if I'm able to answer that. So we take a short break.